Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. In this video, we're going to check in on the cryptocurrency space. It's been a wild day of headlines, fake headlines. We had the morning pump on ETF approved headlines and then quickly gave it back as the market started to realize that it was fake news. And this isn't just your normal fake news pump and dump because, it's not like you just had some, crypto accounts posting that this was news. These were very legitimate sources. These were sources that we use as news in our stock trading, and they're going to be right, 99.9% of the time. And so it was very surprising that it did end up being fake, and we'll check out some of these sources in just a moment. But essentially now we need to see, where do we stand at this point? How significant is the setback? And, have bulls lost their momentum that they had to start this week? So let's go to the charts. And first things first, who were these sources? And if we go, we can see the sources were Reuters, very legitimate source. We had Cointelegraph. Say Cointelegraph was the least credible source, which again is saying something. They're the spot to go for crypto news. And Walter Bloomberg on Twitter, again, very rarely wrong on news. So if you were faked out by this news, this fake headline, it is okay to be a bit easy and gentle on yourself because a lot of people were faked out. And even myself, I posted the headline as soon as I saw Bloomberg posting about it. For me, that's almost an automatic, okay, here's the headline. And again, 99.9% of the time, that's legitimate news. But this was the 0.1% where it was not. So what do we get? We get a rejection from 30,000 psychological, and we see a move where we gave it all back. And so now what? Now we've got a recovery attempt, the hourly, technically still a stair-step pattern. I mean, you got to give the bulls some credit there. The fact that we are still setting a higher low every hourly candle. As far as resistance is concerned, we can be looking at an initial bounce high, 28.4 thousand. If we get over that, then the hourly bounce gets a bit more convincing. We're still going to be looking for an hourly lower high, of course. But if we want to make a simple statement, we'll just say, if hourly EMA 12 is support, the bulls are hanging on fine. Obviously, we're going to get a big, ugly upper wick no matter what here. But hourly EMA 12 is our guide. We do still have uptrends on the midterm time frames. The 4-hour is in an uptrend. The hourly is in an uptrend. The 15-minute is now back in an uptrend. So bulls had a quick move. Bears had a quick move. And, let's just erase that news. Let's erase that headline. Where were we pre-headline? We were trading at 28,000. And so we're up 1%. I mean, we're up 1% from where we were this morning before the headline fiasco. So bigger picture on the daily perspective, I had this drawn on Bitcoin just as a bit of a visual guide. And now with this big upper wick, I'm going to continue to keep an eye on it. Just with the rejections, 1, 2, 3, and now 4 rejections. We got an uptrend support line that we can be keeping an eye on. But bigger picture, this was the bulls attempting to negate the 2 weak head and shoulders that we've been talking about. And they made it a lot less likely, but it is still a possibility on the table. So what do we need to see from here? We need to see a slow grind up and continue to keep the short-term control and try and put that spike behind us and still be, higher than we were yesterday and higher than where we were last week. And that will be progress for the bulls. At this point in time, the approval of an ETF is very high probability. The only thing that is not known is when. And so what that does is it potentially, leads to why would we see such a significant reaction like this if the news is known that it's going to happen? It's because of timing. You can have bears positioned for a daily lower high compared to 28.3 thousand this morning, and they're going to cover if an ETF news headline drops. So it was definitely, mini short squeeze. And so we can't anticipate that even if the market could say this is extremely likely to happen, the unknowing of the when does still lead to price volatility. So no huge red flags for me. If we go back and, if we drop down and lose support from pre-headline 27.6 thousand, then it will be okay, bears are taking back over. But again, all things considered, considering it was a fake headline, the bulls are fairly pleased with where they stand. 1% higher than this morning. So we're going to continue watching the possibility of a 2-week head and shoulders, but if that's going to confirm, we would have to see the bears regain a daily downtrend. I'm going to ignore a lot of this daily upper wick. I mean, obviously we know 30,000 is a resistance level, so no new information there. And just going to be sticking with supports, the hourly and the 4-hour supports as our guide as we head into the start of this week. The dominance chart obviously spiked up in a big way, but it too is remaining elevated. So again, it's almost like this morning the market was like, hey, fake headline, everybody reacting to it, but then everybody, coming to terms with, well, this is probably going to happen, and now we know what the reaction would be, so maybe the market needs to price in that a little bit better. Bitcoin is still up 4%. So dominance chart still up there and getting to the highest level that we've seen in a very long time, multiple years. Crypto stocks responded. I'm watching this Riot daily equilibrium, nice and tight, looking for a break later this week. MARA broke resistance, but obviously gave it back, still in a tight range there as well. And coin, daily tightening range. So we know Bitcoin, I put out some tweets over the weekend, Bitcoin is in the tightest 6 to 7 month range of 29%. We've been in a 29% range for 6 to 7 months. That's the tightest range in at least 6 years for a 6-month period. There's no 6-month period in Bitcoin in at least the last 6 years, probably further. I stopped looking, where we've been tighter. And so again, that tells us volume and volatility are coming on a break here, but it may be another month down the road. But again, it tells us be prepared, have a game plan established. Because when this, the longer term a range tightens up, the more you can anticipate follow through. And we just got so many examples. CCJ, monthly equilibrium, saw a bull break and went up for 4 months of follow through. And there's so many of these examples of long-term tightening ranges. NEE was a bearish monthly equilibrium. Well, it was an equilibrium on the monthly that broke bear and followed through massively. So we're going to be watching Bitcoin very closely for when this break takes place of the range that we've been within for the last 6-7 months. And one of the ways I will be playing it is through these crypto stocks. Whether it's long or short remains to be seen. But in the meantime, these crypto stocks are going to break their tightening daily ranges, certainly before Bitcoin breaks its tightening 6-7 month range. ETH, big old bounce, daily lower high was the most likely scenario, anything under 1662. Again, giving back a ton of this move. We're going to scout an hourly lower high to be the result of this bounce. But the main story for ETH has been the dominance chart continuing to drop. And we were watching a potential weekly falling wedge, and we've been watching this for months and months. And this is the bears essentially negating that by following through on the most recent bear break. So the simple statement is, as long as weekly EMA 12 is resistance, then ETH is weaker than Bitcoin. And there's a lot of space for that to remain resistance from where we stand right now. And so we got a little bit of a bounce attempt underway, but we're in a downtrend on all time frames. And so again, as the Bitcoin dominance continues to climb, ETH BTC continues to drop, and we're going to have to see a significant shift if we're going to say it's time for altcoins. There are a few altcoins that have our attention, a few names that have been performing better here, and we'll look at those now. But for the vast majority, again, even with this bull start to the morning, look at how many altcoins where a daily lower high is still the most likely scenario. Ape, I mean, we could just go down the list. Dot, daily lower high. Sushi, daily lower high. XRP, daily lower high. Sand, XLM. I mean, there's just so many altcoins. ADA, so many altcoins that are still not proving anything for the bull's bigger picture. Some of the names that are: Sol, Sol gave us a really nice, so we know the most likely scenario for Sol was a weekly high or low, and a really nice setup over the weekend of this 12-hour inverse head and shoulders. And so just watching it, from one day to the next. So on Saturday, saying, Sol is rejecting from this resistance, but we can see the setup where it's a possible inverse head and shoulders forming. And at that point in time, we were testing this resistance and saying, okay, well, if we reject, we're watching for this inverse head and shoulders. And so then we update on Sunday as it continues to develop. Now at this point, that 12-hour consolidation for the right shoulder is underway. So the inverse head and shoulders, the hope for the bulls. And then, of course, the bullish start to this week, and then the headline reaction, leading to very significant follow-through on that bull break. Getting over, and even before the headline, we're trading up at 23.50, so that's 4% follow-through of the resistance break even without the headline, and then we rejected from resistance on the headline. So now we're tightening up on the weekly chart, trying to confirm a weekly uptrend. And again, same thing. We're going to scout a lower high compared to the reaction, but if the bulls maintain hourly EMA 12 support, they keep control overall. Yes, it's a wild volatility shakeup, but it's still control. So if you're looking for clarity, watch those hourlies. And if EMA 12 is support, it's still an uptrend. We're still trending upwards. Link, likewise, we were watching for a weekly high or low here as well. Again, keep an eye on Link. We know Bitcoin's in a tight 6-7 month range. Look at Link's tight forever range. This is as tight as you can get. And we're going to be looking for a break of this range to end this year or to start next year. And we're going to look for significant follow through. Condense it down to the 2-month time frame. It's just sideways. It's just shake up the soda can. Just stretch out the rubber band. It's going to snap. You get to a point. And so, what do we need to see? Well, step one would be breaking 828. It would be increasing daily bull volume. We would have to break 846 behind it. But for now, we're still in a daily downtrend technically, anything under 795. And now we're going to watch for a daily inverse head and shoulders attempt. If we pull back from here, we have to hold the low and then try and recover back to this resistance zone. It's very clear that we have a resistance zone on Link in the short term here. Look at all these tops. After we topped out from the weekly resistance rejection, we topped out at 778, 79, 76, 95, 83. So we could say that we've got 5 tops between 779 and 795, and that's a very clear resistance zone. But I am still keeping an eye on Link and Sol as a couple of altcoins on the bull side of things. Again, there's countless names on the bear side of things, and it's not the market environment that favors altcoins as the dominance chart is going up. What really needs to happen, in my opinion, for things to shake up would be, number one, getting an approved headline. Let's get that out of the way and get that behind us. Maybe an official approved Bitcoin headline may mark a temporary top in dominance as once that move shakes out. And if that were to happen, what bulls want to see happen is Bitcoin make a big bull move, ideally breaking 31.8 and seeing new highs, and then starting to trade sideways within a range, sideways on the daily, form a daily equilibrium and trade sideways as altcoins then play catch up. Because what that would be, again, Bitcoin leading the way, everybody piling into Bitcoin on the ETF news, and then confidence. Confidence is contagious. And so if you've got confidence of Bitcoin hitting a new high, and you've got confidence in crypto as a whole, it's becoming more generally accepted, and the ETF is approved, and the SEC loses this battle, then we look for confidence to go into the altcoins as well from there. So, is that the way I think it's going to play out? I don't have high conviction, but I can lay out that scenario in my brain, say this is a hypothetical of what it could look like. And so then if it does start to take shape, whenever we do get this real headline, we can have a trade game plan established for that. And so for me, it would be focusing on the stronger names like Sol, like Link. And let's check in on Sol BTC. So yeah, it's a tightening range. I mean, just the fact so many altcoins are at the lowest level in years on their BTC pairings that if you're seeing a name that's not even at the lowest level in a month, it stands out. And RNDR is another one where, again, it's just relative strength. We got the big spike up. We're giving a lot of it back. We lost hourly EMA 12, so pay attention to that. So here's a bit of a different setup. We spiked pre-headline, consolidated, and then a lower high. Technically, that's an hourly downtrend confirming on that headline fade. So now we're going to scout an hourly lower high, anything under 195. But just need to be cautious that RNDR may be topping out temporarily here. So we're going to have to keep an eye on RNDR BTC. Trying to find a time frame that aligns with, a monthly lower high is the most likely scenario for me on RNDR, anything under 295. And so the question is that monthly lower high shaping up? And we would need to lose 169 support for us to be pretty convinced that that is the case. But again, it's a little bit of a different setup where most names popped on the headline and are now holding hourly EMA 12 and slow grinding, trying to recover a bit, where RNDR is definitely different. Nice bull break on Bitcoin. Get over the bounce high. So, I mean, it's not, huge gains and flashy, but it is, all things considered, if you told me that Bitcoin spiked up $2,000 and then it was a fake headline and we gave it all back, this is best case scenario for the bulls. They're trying to salvage that big upper wick, and they're doing a good job. All right, reading the chat room now. I've got to do a stock live stream in a bit, but I'll check out a couple coins that you're all looking at. Definitely both sides getting liquidated. Shorts got liquidated, and then, leveraged longs who were market buying to try and jump in on that news liquidated as well. Whenever you're chasing, if you're chasing a headline and you're market buying, you got to sell partial fairly quickly. And you may feel, I'm going to leave money on the table. Who cares? You are then protecting yourself. If you buy on that headline at 29,000 and you sell half a minute later at 29.5, your break even is now 28.5. And you have so much more control. You're so much more in the driver's seat of the trade at that point when you just instantly drop your break even, 1 to 2%. You just give yourself breathing room. And so if I'm buying a resistance break and we're not in a raging bull market or a news reaction, I'm selling partial very quickly to then get that comfort. Because if I'm at risk of, buying into momentum and going red very quickly, I'm never comfortable if that's the scenario. So give yourself some breathing room by utilizing partial positions. Appreciate the support and the likes and the nice messages. Yeah. Agree, Kevin. Agree that there is still bull volume there. This is best case for the bulls. So what are we we're gonna look for, a lower high from the reaction. We're then gonna look for a test of hourly EMA 12 to see if the uptrend can remain intact. But the bulls are telling us we haven't topped out just yet. And we have nice clear 15-minute uptrend. So we can say the 15-minute uptrend is our short-term guide. When we lose those 15-minute higher lows, we then start to look for that tightening range. That is true, Rob. A lot of people are waiting for the ETF approval headline to buy instead of positioning before. It really just has to do with time. If it's going to be months, it's entirely possible that Bitcoin could head down to test 25,000 again while we wait. It's a possibility. I don't think it's the most likely scenario, but I would say that's the mindset for traders that aren't jumping in just yet. But again, I think what's going on right now is everybody's realizing, okay, this ETF is probably likely. The market clearly just responded very bullish to the headline. Maybe I should have a position, assuming that we are going to get this real headline eventually. So what this is doing is pricing in some of that real headline. Talked about RNDR. You got a Chris, the dollar. So the dollar has to confirm a daily downtrend for the first. So daily lower high is now set. When's the last time we got a confirmed daily downtrend? It has not happened since this move started. So what do we need to tell us the character of the chart is changing, things are shifting? We need to break 105.53 and confirm this head and shoulders. Then we'll say, yep, the top for the dollar is set for now. And that will give confidence, continued confidence to the metals bulls. It will help the equities bulls get a bit more confident. And it can't hurt crypto. Again, Bitcoin has lost this correlation where this is where Bitcoin was dropping. And Thursday, Friday, what was Bitcoin doing? You know, Thursday, Friday, getting a little green. We've been going inverse to the 6 days last week, 5 days of last week. We were going inverse to the dollar. No, I should say we were trading correlated with the dollar, which is not the norm. So again, that correlation is not strong right now, but can't hurt to have the dollar weaken. PSGT, nope. PSTG, looks like you're talking stocks. We are not here for stocks. Nor CGC. Thoughts on the upcoming BTC halving? I am keeping the possibility open that a halving pump leads to a 6-month lower high and multi-year tightening range. That would be the least fun scenario, but I am open to that possibility. If we get an ETF headline and we get, everybody that's going to position for the halving and we go up 50%, we're still way under resistance. And we can form a lower high, a long-term lower high. It really bothers me when everybody's looking in the same direction. And it really bothers me that everybody thinks that because we have this tiny 10-year example, we have a 10-year history here. And I say tiny because everything else that you can look at in macroeconomics has a 100-year plus history. But we have this tiny history and everybody's just all in 100%. It's going to continue forever. It's not. We're not going to see halving cycles lead to bull markets every time. And now, could it happen one more time? Yes, absolutely. But eventually, there is going to come a halving where OG crypto people say, oh, here we go again. I've done this time and time again. It keeps working. And they're going to get burned. And we're going to enter a bear market into a halving cycle. That will happen in crypto. I am certain of it. It's just a question of when. So I'm not going to go out on a limb and say this is the time, but I am going to go out on a limb and say I'm not sitting here saying all-time highs are guaranteed. I'm not sitting here saying we're about to have another bull market where you're going to be able to change your life. Maybe be prepared for it, absolutely, but you should definitely be prepared for the possibility that we form a long-term lower high and tighten up for years. It's absolutely possible. Just be prepared for both. And that way you don't get surprised. Right now with the broader market, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are either a monthly cup and handle heading to all-time highs or a 3-month lower high heading into a tightening equilibrium for the majority of 2024. I don't know which is going to happen. I am not going to lose money on either scenario. I will make money whichever happens because I am open to both possibilities. And now I'm just patiently waiting for information to tilt the probabilities to give me high conviction of which is going to happen. But the point is, have a game plan for if the Bitcoin bulls take back over and we see new all-time highs, and have part of that game plan be a longer-term lower high and tightening range for the next 3 years. And Bitcoin volatility, if it continues to get accepted and continues to gain market cap, should, by definition, shrink with liquidity. The insane volatility in 2017 was due to a lack of liquidity. We have way more liquidity than 2017. And you can assume that liquidity is going to continue to increase, and so volatility will continue to decrease. So when the ETF headline is actually announced, this kind of reaction won't happen again. It all depends on where we stand leading into that headline. For example, if we're at a point where bears are extremely confident and have control of a daily and hourly downtrend and that news comes out, we're going to squeeze some shorts because there's going to be bears in positions based on price action that are going to be caught off guard by that headline. But if we're in an uptrend and up near a high, then we can expect much less of a reaction because the bulls will already have control. A bunch of bulls will already have positions. There'll be less shorts out there because the bulls will be proving themselves. So it really all depends on what is the current price action doing, what are the current trends doing when that headline drops. And the reason that today had such an amount of short squeeze follow through is we're in a daily downtrend. We were in a daily downtrend with the bulls proving nothing. I mean, the bulls have not proven a thing in the last week and a half of trading. Bears have been confident in the last week and a half of trading. And so bears that were playing off of these resistance zones stopped out. And that was a part of that move up. That was a part of that short squeeze. But had we been trading at 29,000 and then that headline drops, we don't go up the same magnitude because we don't have all these shorts to stop out. Pepe. So again, stocks like Ape or coins like Ape and Pepe, you've got to be extremely cautious because they're so new and there's such a lack of price history that there's nothing saying that we just can't keep seeing downside. And that's why they're leading the way down in this altcoin bear market, we'll call it. And so the only hope for Pepe is holding 594 and breaking 847. We have never had a weekly uptrend in the history of this name. So if we confirm the first weekly uptrend, we pay attention to that. That catches our attention. But as of right now, we're in a clear weekly downtrend and still in a daily downtrend as well. Look at all this resistance around 7.2 to 7.4. And we just topped out there. And again, Pepe is an example of a name that gave back. Not only did we give back the pump, but we also took out progress from the previous dozen hours. If Bitcoin had done that same thing, Bitcoin would have dropped down to 27.2. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Head on over to the stock world to wrap up the stock day. 15-minute uptrend is our guide on Bitcoin. We're gonna look for an hourly test of EMA 12. Simple statement, bulls keep full control of hourly EMA 12 as support. We know eventually here we're due for 4-hour consolidation. The last 4-hour high or low was under 27,000. So we're now up 5% from the last 4-hour consolidation. So we know hourly consolidation is coming. We know 4-hour consolidation is coming. The question is, do they form higher lows and keep the bulls in control of this move regardless of that headline pump? So I appreciate you all watching. Definitely more views than usual recently. At least it's got everybody's attention here, paying attention to price action again. Keep an eye out for the ETF headline, but it's not going to be a game changer. in terms of the reaction. The price reaction to the ETF headline isn't going to be a game changer, in my opinion, in the sense that, again, look at the long-term time frames. I mean, if we're going to do the same thing as 2017, I need to see the bulls up in the upper 40,000s for the same 60% plus bounce retracement, and then we might look for that same tightening range. It's just taking a lot longer to play out. You know, it's very similar in how this is shaped up. The one difference is we don't have nearly as big enough a bounce retracement yet, but again, I am not ruling out that this happens on a longer term time scale. But we'll talk a whole bunch more before that takes shape. At this point, bulls just want to get back over pesky 30,000s. And what this spike does is just affirms everybody's watching 30, 31,000 resistance as the next major battleground zone. All right, we'll definitely check back in later this week as things have now woken up a bit. And we'll see if the bulls are able to maintain some control from this reaction after a couple days of the dust settling. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you watching. Do good things.